Flower gardening can become a much-loved passion, but it can also be overwhelming, especially when you're first starting out. There are millions of plants to choose from and even more ways to combine them, and inexperienced gardeners may not know where to start. Your best bet is to start small your first year, and don't worry about making mistakes. As time goes on, you can adjust your garden, digging up what didn't work on year and embracing what did well. You'll find a garden style and plants that make you happy, and the discovery of what exactly that is can be an unexpected pleasure. Growing flower plant from flower bud. Growing a flower plant from a flower bud is not an easy task, but it is possible with some careful attention and patience. Here are the steps you can follow to grow a flower plant from a flower bud. Choose a healthy flower bud. Select a healthy flower bud from a plant that you want to propagate. Make sure the bud is mature enough and has not started to wilt or dry out. Remove the flower bud. Using a sharp knife or scissors, cut the flower bud from the plant. Make sure you cut as close to the stem as possible without damaging the stem. Prepare a rooting hormone. To help the flower bud root, you can dip the cut end in a rooting hormone solution. This will help stimulate the growth of roots. Plant the flower bud. Plant the flower bud in a pot with fresh potting soil. Make a small hole in the soil with your finger and gently place the cut end of the flower bud in the hole. Press the soil gently around the bud to hold it in place. Water the flower bud. Water the flower bud gently, being careful not to disturb it. Keep the soil moist, but not waterlogged. Provide light and warmth. Place the pot in a warm and bright location, but avoid direct sunlight. A windowsill that receives indirect light is ideal. Be patient and wait for the flower bud to develop roots and start growing. This can take several weeks to a few months. Once the plant has grown, you can transplant it to a larger pot or into the garden. Weeding and watering, though necessary garden chores, are definitely not as enjoyable as choosing flowers and putting them in the ground. Planting flowers is one of the true joys of gardening, and it couldn't be easier, even for beginners. There's also something soothing about walking around the garden every day to observe your plants and all the pretty, little pollinators doing their jobs. To get the most bang for your buck when planting flowers, make sure you know what you're buying. Annuals last one season and provide bright pops of color right away all season long until frost. Perennials bloom for just a few weeks early, mid, or late season and typically return year after year. Read the plant tag or description. It tells you what kind of plant it is as well as how much sunlight the flower needs. Full sun is considered 6 or more hours of direct sunlight, while part sun is about half that. If you choose perennials, pay attention to the USDA hardiness zones to be sure the plant can survive winters in your climate. Timing is key for planting. For most flowers, you'll want to wait until after the last frost of the season to plant, although there are a few types, such as snapdragons and violas, that will handle cooler temperatures. Developing flowering houseplants might be simpler than bringing up kids, but the two interests have their similarities. Building a decent home condition for solid roots, getting rid of bad surroundings, giving additional security at the toddler stage, offering support yet more independence as they develop, and making the significant connection between proper nutrition and strong development will lead to the fulfillment of guiding your young upstarts to blossoming maturity. Follow these steps given ahead to grow healthy and beautiful indoor plants at your home. Take proper time to prepare the environment for new plants. Great soil planning is the most significant thing you can do for your flowers. Slacken soil to at least 6 inches, including organic matter, for example, peat greenery, fertilizer, or compost, and blend well. Rake to level. Soil planning can be a fun activity, one that builds the expectation of new life, much like setting up the nursery for a new baby. The plant tag or description will tell you how tall and wide a plant is expected to get under ideal conditions. Don't ignore it. If you're planting in beds, you want to put the tallest flowers, such as zinnia or salvia, in back, with sprawling flowers or ground covers, such as sweet alyssum or portulaca, in front. Choose healthy plants. If shopping at a nursery, look for plants that appear strong and green, not wilted, brown, or already scraggly. If the pots are bone dry, avoid them because the plants likely are already stressed. Give your plant a good start. Dig a hole about twice the size of the root ball. If you have a multi-pack of flowers, squeeze each individual cell to loosen it up a bit. Then tilt the pack on its side, allowing each plant to slip out of its section into your hand. If you need to coax it, that's fine too. Lift the plant by the stem, not the top, and set in the hole at the same depth it was in the pot. You also can rough up the roots, gently, with your fingers a bit to help them start spreading out into the hole, because roots often are matted and circled inside the pot when you buy them. Replace the soil around the plant in the hole, tamp it lightly, and water thoroughly. Pay attention to planting times for seeds. If you're planting seeds, read the package to see how deep to plant them. It's often surprisingly shallow, perhaps as little as a 1/4 inch. And pay attention to the days to maturity listed on the package as well. For example, if a flower takes 80 days to mature and it's already the end of June, it may be too late to plant from seed in some climates. You'll spend all summer watching your plant grow but never bloom, only to get taken out by the first frost. Mulch your new plantings. It may seem like an unnecessary step, but mulch, even in a container, will reduce evaporation, so you may be able to water less frequently. It will also keep down weeds and decompose over time, improving soil structure. Don't forget to water. Most annual and perennial flowers need a couple of inches of moisture per week to thrive, but use common sense. If it's rained, you probably don't need to water. If you stick your finger in a pot and it's dry, it's time to give it a drink. Most plants prefer long, deep watering until water runs out of the bottom of the pot. In spring, with frequent rains, expect to water pots and beds a few times a week. In the summer, you'll probably need to water daily. By fall, the growing season is ending, so water a couple of times a week during dry spells. Whether it's flower gardening, indoor plants, or vegetable gardening, there's always something new to learn and discover. So go ahead and start your gardening journey and enjoy the process of creating beautiful and fruitful spaces that bring joy and satisfaction. Also, watch our previous video about how to graft oranges. Subscribe to our channel and press the icon so that we can stay connected. Thank you.